On a poignant morning that would forever alter the course of history, Jesus Christ, a pivotal figure whose teachings have transcended centuries, faced crucifixion. This grave event unfolded from 9 a.m. to noon on a somber Friday, casting a shadow over what would become a cornerstone of Christian faith. As the afternoon approached, Jewish authorities pressed for a swift resolution, eager to have Jesus' body removed before the Sabbath commenced at 6 p.m. They desired his quick demise and removal from the cross, adhering strictly to their traditions. In response, Pontius Pilate decreed a hastening of death for those crucified by ordering their legs broken. However, in Jesus' case, the executioner found him already lifeless and instead pierced his side with a spear. This act, diverging from the brutal norm, fulfilled an ancient prophecy. Not a bone of his was broken, echoing the words of Psalm 34:20. This poignant moment, when blood and water flowed from Jesus' side, not only confirmed his death but also gave rise to one of the most revered relics in Christian lore, the Holy Lance. This artifact, steeped in sacred history, joins the ranks of the true cross and the Shroud of Turin in its significance and the depth of contemplation and controversy it inspires among believers and historians alike. However, Christian canonical texts provide no additional reference to the lance wielded by the Roman soldier, consequently shrouding its destiny in uncertainty. We are only able to get additional information about it alongside its owner from the apocryphal text known as the Gospel of Nicodemus, believed to have been written in the 4th or 5th century. According to this narrative, the soldier who brandished the spear was a Roman centurion named Longinus. In specific Christian beliefs, it is argued that Longinus was the centurion mentioned in the Gospel of Mark. This centurion, upon witnessing Jesus' death, is said to have exclaimed, "Truly, this man was the Son of God. Truly, this man was the Son of God." According to certain narratives, Longinus was depicted as either blind or suffering from a condition like ophthalmia. It is said that his affliction was miraculously healed when his eyes touched the blood from the wound he had caused on Jesus' side. As a result, the spear gained the esteemed status of the Holy Lance, and Longinus experienced a significant transformation. He abandoned his military career, embraced Christianity, and eventually met martyrdom. He is commemorated as Saint Longinus, with a designated feast day celebrated on October 16th. Given that the spear came into contact with the body of a living God, it is unsurprising that people attributed supernatural qualities to it. Indeed, according to legends, ownership of the Holy Lance was believed to bestow upon the possessor the power to conquer the world. While it may seem like a plot from a movie, noteworthy historical figures like Charlemagne and Frederick Barbarossa were thought to experience a string of victories when in possession of the lance. This reputed ability to secure triumph, whether for good or ill, led to the Holy Lance being famously known as the Spear of Destiny. Many stories assert that the loss of the lance brings about death, a fate witnessed in the passing of both Charlemagne and Frederick Barbarossa shortly after they either dropped or lost the lance. There is also belief that the mystical influence of the spear played a crucial role in shaping the ambitions of one of history's most infamous leaders, Adolf Hitler. Rumors suggest that he once owned this relic, and its talismanic power played a significant role in fueling his aspirations for global domination. Considering the profound significance of this relic in Christian beliefs, crucial questions emerge. Would fate befell the Holy Lance, and is there any evidence substantiating its authenticity? Could there be individuals in positions of authority who possess the genuine spear, leveraging its extraordinary powers to their advantage? While we would like to offer straightforward answers to these questions, the truth is that history of the Holy Lance is far more intricate than we could have ever imagined. Complicating matters further, numerous countries lay claim to the sacred spear, yet the Church has discredited some of these assertions as counterfeit. However, despite prevailing skepticism, 3 spearheads have withstood expert scrutiny, hinting at the possibility that one of them might indeed be the authentic Spear of Destiny. Let's begin our narrative with one of the most captivating tales in the lore of the Holy Lance that centers around French pilgrim Peter Bartholomew. During the First Crusade, he asserted to have received visions from St. Andrew, revealing the lance's whereabouts. Bartholomew recounted his visions to leaders of the crusade, although a papal representative remained skeptical. Conversely, regiment leader Count Raymond of Toulouse chose to believe Bartholomew, likely due to the dire circumstances at the time. Accounts written by a participating priest from the First Crusade reveal that Christian forces were besieged at Antioch by the massive army of Kerbega, grappling with setbacks and food shortages. Bartholomew insisted that the Holy Lance was buried in the cathedral floor of Antioch. Despite initial skepticism and a day of fruitless digging, Bartholomew eventually unearthed a corroded iron rod. While the Crusade's commanders were dubious, this discovery proved the morale boost needed to overcome the siege. It served as a powerful motivation for the Crusaders, spurring them to continue the fight. Armed with Crusader swords, they launched a decisive attack on foot. The pivotal battle on June 28, 1098 in Antioch resulted in their ultimate victory, with the Holy Lance emerging as a significant symbol of their success. As a result, many Crusaders began to view Peter as a spiritual mentor. However, they became suspicious when the purported visions of Peter became more frequent. In a bid to substantiate his assertion of discovering the genuine Holy Lance, Peter subjected himself to a trial by fire. 2 pyres were set ablaze with a narrow space in between. According to the test, if Bartholomew spoke the truth, he would emerge unharmed after passing through the flames with the lance. Regrettably, he did not succeed in this trial and suffered severe burns, ultimately leading to his demise. It is believed that at a certain point, the Holy Lance was divided into 2 relics, the tip and the notably larger shaft. According to some Byzantine texts, the tip was transported to Constantinople and incorporated into an icon. This leads us to the era of the Fourth Crusade, during which the Crusaders looted Constantinople and established their own Latin Empire. This empire endured until 1261, when Emperor Baldwin II was deposed by the Byzantines. Prior to this, Baldwin acquired the spear's tip and sold it to King Louis XI of France. The revered French monarch later canonized for his piety and enshrined the relic at the Church of Sainte-Chapelle. It remained there until the French Revolution, at which point it was relocated to the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, due to societal upheaval. Regrettably, this marks the final documented whereabouts of the tip, and its present location continues to be an unresolved mystery. Luckily, the other section of the spear can be relatively well traced. In 1357, Sir John Mandeville documented seeing objects described as the blade of the Holy Lance in both Paris and Constantinople, the latter being the larger of the 2. The relic in Constantinople eventually fell into the possession of the Ottoman Empire, following their conquest of the city in 1453. However, the Ottoman Turks did not retain ownership of the object for long. In 1492, Sultan Bayezid II dispatched the relic to Rome as a part of a diplomatic agreement with Pope Innocent VIII, who had the Sultan's brother in captivity. This found its present home, which is beneath the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. However, it's important to note that the Catholic Church refrains from asserting it as the genuine Holy Lance. This is partly due to conflicting claims regarding other supposed Holy Lances. According to the complexity, it remains uncertain whether the item discovered by Peter in Antioch is the same as the one currently in possession at the Vatican, or if it pertains to a different relic held in Constantinople. In the 18th century, Pope Benedict XIV declared the Antioch lance of Peter as a forgery, although uncertainties persist regarding whether the relic within the Catholic Church is the identical artifact. Our journey to find the real Holy Lance will lead us next to Armenia. In Armenian tradition, the lance is linked to Saint Thaddeus, one of the original 12 disciples of Jesus. Saint Thaddeus embarked on an apostolic mission to Armenia in the 1st century AD, bringing the lance with him. During his time in Armenia, he played a pivotal role in introducing the Christian religion to its citizens. Saint Thaddeus and his fellow apostle, Saint Bartholomew, are revered as the first enlighteners of Armenia. Presumably, the lance found its residence in the monastery of Aravank during the 12th century. In 1215, as the primary church of this venerable monastery was erected, one of its chapels, as indicated by its inscription, was devoted to Saint Thaddeus. This likely suggests that a relic associated with the saint, possibly the lance, was housed within. Subsequently, after 1250, the monastery garnered the name Keghardavank, with Kegard signifying lance and Vank denoting monastery. Like its counterparts, this lance was believed to possess mystical powers. For instance, the Armenian Church recounts how, in 1798, the lance was loaned to the King of Georgia to aid in healing those afflicted by a plague. Notably, this holy lance differs somewhat in the shape from a typical spear, possessing a diamond-like shape with a non-sharp tip, prompting some to question its authenticity as a relic. From the early 19th century onward, and notably following the Russian occupation of eastern Armenia in 1828, the lance has been housed in the Museum of Holy Echmiadzin. Our final stop to locate the authentic holy relic will bring us to Austria. It is believed that the Holy Lance is preserved within the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. According to legend, this Holy Lance is associated with Emperor Constantine, who supposedly commissioned its creation after his mother unearthed 3 nails, believed to be relics from the crucifixion. As the legend goes, the emperor employed 2 nails for his crown and horse bridle, while the third was incorporated into the lance. Alternative accounts suggest that this lance may have belonged to Saint Maurice, a Theban legion leader martyred for refusing to harm Christians. In either scenario, Stephen Klimchuk's Secret Places, Hidden Sanctuaries, characterizes this lance as a metal artifact with a purported crucifixion nail attached, secured by gold, silver, and copper thread. It is believed to have come into the possession of Charlemagne and subsequent Holy Roman emperors, eventually finding its way to Nuremberg. When leadership of the Holy Roman Empire transitioned to monarchs in Austria, the relic was moved to Vienna. The story concerning the lance in Austria doesn't conclude there, but takes a captivating twist. In the 1973 bestseller book, The Spear of Destiny by Trevor Ravenscroft, a claim was made that linked the outbreak of World War II to Hitler's pursuit of this lance. The author suggested that Hitler's interest in the relic might have been sparked by his fascination with the 1882 opera, Parsifal, by Richard Wagner, the composer Hitler admired. The opera revolves around a group of knights guarding the Holy Grail and the recovery of the spear. Ravenscroft boldly concluded that the spear came into the possession of the United States on April 30th, 1945, under the command of General George Patton, who led the Third Army. According to the legend, losing the spear meant death, and on the same day Hitler took his own life. Patton, captivated by the ancient weapon, had its authenticity confirmed. However, he did not utilize the spear as orders from General Dwight Eisenhower directed the return of complete Habsburg regalia, including the Spear of Longinus to the Habsburg Palace, where it remains today. However, there are speculations suggesting that the Americans returned only a replica to Austria and retained the original weapon for themselves. This prompts the question, could the United States be concealing the Holy Spear and utilizing it to maintain ongoing global dominance? In 2003, Austrian authorities wanted to check if this relic was real. They asked British expert Robert Feather to use signs to examine the 50-centimeter weapon. However, no blood or DNA was found on it. By using X-ray and fluorescent tests, they found out what the object was made of. The results showed that the spear in Vienna was made in the 7th century AD, many years after Christ died. Interestingly, Dr. Feather did confirm that the nail of our Lord, the pointed iron part of the spear, matched the nail from the 1st century AD. The precise whereabouts of the authentic Holy Lance remain elusive, yet its enduring legacy persists, sparking discussions on matters of faith and historical significance. The spear that pierced Jesus stands as a potent symbol, signifying redemption through the shedding of his blood, a profound act that grants us forgiveness and purification from all our sins. It is finished. These were the famous final words of Jesus Christ as he hung on the cross, grasping for his final breath. With this, a pivotal moment in Christian faith was concluded, the death of Christ. It's a moment where the storyline of salvation intersects with age-old prophecies, affirming the conviction that Jesus was truly the awaited Messiah. Alongside Pontius Pilate, another powerful man took the center stage when these most dramatic events of the Christian story unfolded. From the arrest interrogations, and executions of Jesus of Nazareth, the high priest Joseph Caiaphas played a central role in all of these events. Yet this formidable biblical character remains shrouded in mystery, with the Gospel authors depicting him as a mere shadowy figure. In a significant milestone, scientists successfully uncovered the tomb of this high priest. This discovery stands as an unprecedented milestone. For the first time in history, physical remains of a figure mentioned in the Bible had been unearthed. Let's dive into the lesser-known narrative of the man who has historically been cast as the central antagonist in the crucifixion of Jesus. To begin our story, we need first to go back in time when the Romans conquered Jerusalem. With their dominance over the region, the Romans heavily depended on local governance for the day-to-day administration of the area. Within this framework, the Jewish people retained authority over their internal affairs. Ranked just beneath the Roman governor in terms of authority, the high priest holds significant sway in Judea. Among the Jewish community, high priests are seen as a direct link to God, responsible for the supervision of temple worship. Additionally, they preside over the Sanhedrin, a council consisting of 71 elders, which deals with matters pertaining to Jewish law. Striking a delicate balance between the intricate power dynamics of Jewish religious leaders and the Roman authorities proved to be a complex challenge. The Jewish religious leaders were charged with the task of preserving order within the Jerusalem temple, whereas the Romans sought to establish their authority in political matters and uphold general stability, occasionally encroaching on the influence of the Jewish leadership. In the Bible, two prominent Jewish religious groups come to our attention: the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Pharisees typically conducted their teachings in synagogues and were often middle-class individuals. In contrast, the Sadducees comprised wealthy upper-class priests who served in the temple. Another distinguishing factor between these sects was their belief in the resurrection of the dead. Unlike the Pharisees, the Sadducees did not share the same belief in the resurrection. This aspect is of great importance in our narrative, as Caiaphas held a prominent role among the Sadducees, which helps elucidate his motives when faced with Jesus' extraordinary act of raising Lazarus from the dead. Caiaphas' birth is estimated to have occurred around 20 BC, though the precise details of his birth remain shrouded in uncertainty. His early career and background remain largely undocumented, but it's reasonable to infer that he hailed from an affluent background, given his marriage to the daughter of the high priest Annas. Subsequently, he ascended to the position of high priest in the Jerusalem temple during the period of Jesus' ministry, holding his role from 18 to 37 AD. Caiaphas held a multitude of influential roles, including oversight of the temple's treasury, authority over the temple police, as well as supervision of lower-ranking priests and attendants. His remarkably lengthy tenure as the high priest spanned 19 years, implying that the Romans, who were responsible for appointing high priests, considered his service to be both satisfactory and effective. Nonetheless, a debate lingers regarding whether Caiaphas achieved the high priest position solely based on his own qualifications or due to his influential connection with his father-in-law, Annas. This speculation gains credibility when considering that Annas had previously facilitated the appointment of 5 of his relatives to the same prestigious post. Annas retained his influential sway even after stepping down from the high priest's role. This was strikingly evident when he played a substantial part in the trial of Jesus, as narrated in John chapter 18, verse 13. Furthermore, it's noteworthy that the Roman governor Valerius Gratus appointed and promptly replaced 3 high priests before Caiaphas assumed his position. This raises the intriguing prospect that Annas may have been a clever collaborator with the Romans, adept at maneuvering through his political associations. One of the turning points in Caiaphas' role as a high priest within the biblical narrative happened after Jesus miraculously resurrected Lazarus. Being a part of the Sadducees, Caiaphas did not adhere to the belief in resurrection. One can only imagine the profound shock he experienced when he heard news about Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. Faced with this profound challenge to his convictions, his natural inclination was to suppress it rather than endorse such a phenomenon. This information swiftly made its way to the council, and during their gathering, Caiaphas posed the renowned question, as documented in the Gospel of John chapter 11, verses 49 to 50. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. "You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." The high priest's declaration served a twofold purpose. It aimed to quell the possibility of a rebellion and protect the concerns of the Jewish religious leadership. Interestingly, his words carried an almost prophetic resonance, hinting that Jesus' sacrifice was necessary not only for the well-being of the nation, but also as a means to unify the dispersed children of God. In this context, Jesus was arrested and brought before the high priest for questioning. The indictment brought against Jesus was highly unusual, departing from established customs. Tradition dictated that upon the arrest of Jesus by the temple guards, he should have been confined in the temple stockade until the complete Sanhedrin, or the priestly council, could convene to hear his case. However, Jesus was swiftly transported to the Jerusalem abode of Caiaphas, indicating a clear eagerness to expedite Jesus' trial in a behind-closed-doors manner, without the complete Sanhedrin's presence. According to the Gospel of John, Jesus underwent initial questioning by Annas. After a brief interrogation with Annas, Jesus was subsequently directed to Caiaphas. The high priest aimed to elicit admissions from Jesus regarding the accusations of blasphemy and sedition. However, Jesus stayed mostly silent. Caiaphas found himself in a challenging predicament. Without the unanimous support of the Sanhedrin, the high priest lacked the authority to unilaterally decree a man's execution. His only other option was to involve the local Roman authorities, which was a very controversial move. This choice was contentious because, in the past, the Sanhedrin had worked hard to keep its independence in local matters and not let the Romans interfere. Moreover, there was a simpler issue to consider. Jesus had only caused a commotion and maybe said something offensive in the temple area. These actions didn't justify getting the Romans involved, let alone giving him the death penalty. Caiaphas then changed his approach and directly inquired of Jesus, "Are you the Messiah?" As recounted in the book of Mark, Jesus responded unequivocally saying, "I am," and proceeded to quote from the book of Daniel and the Psalms saying, "You will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven." Caiaphas was pleased with the result, as he achieved what he wanted. He recognized the potency of terms like the right hand of the power in capturing the Roman authorities' notice. The Romans would see this as a threat to their power, so they would punish Jesus in the way he wanted. In response to Jesus' statement, the high priest dramatically tore his garments, convinced that Jesus had effectively incriminated himself. These interrogations culminated in the resolution to transfer Jesus to the Roman governor Pontius Pilate for a formal trial and eventual condemnation. It's crucial to underscore the proactive involvement of Caiaphas in pushing for Jesus' charges and advocating for his death penalty. Caiaphas made efforts to persuade Pilate that Jesus posed a potential threat to Roman stability, necessitating his execution as a precaution against rebellion. The combination of his political and religious influence, along with that of Annas, played a significant part in the eventual crucifixion of Jesus on Mount Golgotha. Beyond perceiving Jesus as a potential disruptor of Roman authority, there may have been an additional motive behind Caiaphas's active involvement in securing the guilty verdict, even if it meant violating Jewish legal procedures during Jesus' trial. Given Caiaphas's oversight of the temple, he possessed knowledge about the activities of the money changers and animal merchants who were expelled by Jesus. It's plausible that he received financial compensation or bribes from these vendors, creating a conflict of interest. Moreover, he might have perceived Jesus as a threat to the opulent lifestyle enjoyed by his family. We are well acquainted with the events that transpired after Jesus' death. His resurrection occurred after 3 days. However, Caiaphas vehemently dismissed the evidence of Jesus' resurrection. In retaliation, he issued orders for the arrest and made attempts to harm notable disciples of Jesus, such as Peter and John. He perceived Jesus' followers as a challenge to the prevailing religious and political authority of that era. Around the year 36 AD, Caiaphas was deposed from his position by Galeadius, the Roman governor of Syria. This coincided with the removal of Pilate from his role. It seems like fate has caught up with him as he met a tragic end. He was killed and dragged out of Jerusalem by the Romans. This event served as the realization of Jesus' prophecy regarding the destruction of the temple, as stated in Mark 13, verses 1 to 2. Do you see these great buildings? There will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. Now, back to modern times. In November 1990, archaeologists were able to unearth an astonishing discovery, proving that the Caiaphas really did exist. While constructing a water park south of the old city of Jerusalem, workers accidentally stumbled upon a burial cave. Inside the cave, they found a collection of 12 limestone chests housing human remains. These containers, referred to as ossuary, were predominantly utilized during the 1st century AD. One of these ossuary stands out with its exquisite decoration, featuring a rare and intricate pattern comprising 2 concentric circles, each adorned with 6 intricate whorled rosettes and bordered by an elegant design of palm branches. Inside this intricately decorated ossuary, the remains of 6 individuals were unearthed, encompassing 2 infants, a child aged 2 to 5, a young boy between 13 and 18, an adult woman, and a male around 60 years old, ultimately emerging as a pivotal discovery in the realm of biblical archaeology. At the unadorned end of this remarkable ossuary, an inscription reads, Joseph bar Caiaphas. While the name Joseph was fairly common during the Second Temple period, with statistical records showing that 28% of men bore this name, a significant artifact was found that helped provide a more precise dating for the tomb. A coin found in one of the ossuaries was traced back to the reign of Herod Agrippa, who ruled between 37 and 44 AD. The evidence strongly suggests that they've found the burial box and bones of a 60-year-old man who was believed to be the high priest, Caiaphas. This discovery is a major milestone because it's the first time they've found physical remains of someone mentioned in the Bible. This discovery helps bridge the gap between biblical narratives and historical records, serving as a vital affirmation of the biblical stories. Caiaphas's pivotal role in the narrative of Jesus is crucial to the existence of Christianity as we know it today. It's imperative to grasp his significance within the Christian storyline. For nearly 2 millennia, attributing blame for Jesus' death has been a significant point of contention between Christians and Jews. Nevertheless, it's vital to remember that broader message stemming from Jesus' death, that of self-sacrifice for the redemption of all. What are your thoughts about this? I hope you liked our story. Until the next time.